views and opinions expressed on Think and Grow with Vette Green does not reflect the views of Charm City Direct TV Network. Some language, videos, and content may not be suitable for young viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, you guys. Welcome to a new episode of Think and Grow with Vette Green on Charm City Direct TV Network. I am so happy to bring this panel of guys to you because this is going to be an exciting conversation because the struggle is real. What is it like living as a Black man in America? We all have heard the stories. We all have seen the hashtags. It's tough out here. And many times our Black men have to deal with things that are unreasonable, things that anybody should not have to deal with. So here we are today talking about it. So first up, I want to introduce you to this panel. Welcome, everybody. Calvin Coleman, come on into the room. Come on into the room, Calvin. Come on in. So I love that this panel. Welcome, Calvin. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. If you can just give a brief introduction of yourself, and then we're going to start bringing everybody into the room.
Sure, of course. So Calvin Coleman, I am originally from Buffalo, New York, 35, but I currently live in suburban Chicago.
Okay, thank you so much, Calvin. So next we're going to bring in Christopher Baynes. I'm telling you guys, stay tuned. This is going to be an awesome platform. Christopher Baynes, thank you so much. Welcome into the room. If you can just give a brief introduction about who you are, where you're from, and just come on, tell everybody about who you are.
I'm Chris Baynes. I'm from originally born and raised in Philadelphia, but I reside in Buffalo right now.
Okay, thank you so much for joining this group. I'm so excited to have everyone in here. So next up, we're going to bring in Darine. Darine, come on into the room. Come on and join us. Hey, Darine, how are you? Give everybody a brief introduction of who you are, where you're from, and then we're going to bring in the next person.
Hey, Vette, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
My name is Darine Jones. I'm also originally born in Philly, but raised in Buffalo, reside in Buffalo. 40, and I'm trying to get my platform off the ground, which is just a conscious awareness movement, and that's where my line of work and vision is at.
That's cool. Welcome. It seems like Buffalo is bringing Philadelphia into play, huh? You guys love Buffalo. Okay, next we're going to bring in Nick, aka Africa. Come on in the room, Nicholas Smith. Introduce everybody to yourself.
How y'all doing today? My name is Nick Smith. I'm from Lackawanna, New York. I reside in Buffalo, right outside of Lackawanna right now. Like I said, I run a landscaping business. I also am a glazer, which is I put in windows, frames, and also I do home improvement.
All right. Well, welcome to the platform, Nicholas. And last but not least, we are bringing in V. Come on in the room, V. Come on in the room. Introduce yourself to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. So I am V. I'm known as Photo V here in the DMV area. I'm a professional photographer, so I do photography full time now. And I'm the owner of PhotoGenic. Anybody that knows the meaning of PhotoGenic, they know it means to look good on camera or film. So it's a lot more simpler than people think. People always say, "Oh, I'm not photogenic." Everybody photogenic. But yeah, I'm Photo V. So it's good to meet everybody.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, guys. First off, I want to just say thank you for accepting the invitation. I invited you guys because all of you bring something to this space that I believe somebody needs to hear. You guys have overcome different things in your life, and sometimes other people need to realize that they too can overcome. And I'm hoping that your stories will help them realize that it's not over until it's actually over. So we're going to begin. I just want to so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask one question, and everybody does not need to answer this question, but if you can just put your hand up. So the first thing I want to ask, and I want to start with Calvin, what motivates you to keep going?
I don't necessarily think that it's any specific item that kind of keeps going. I've always kind of been very innately motivated, but when I think it comes to, I have a 9-year-old son, so I want to make sure that I'm a positive example. I want to make sure that he doesn't have the same financial struggles and worries that I had. So I think that's probably the biggest motivator currently, but also I want to be able to achieve the goals that I've kind of set forward for myself. So I think those are probably the two biggest motivators to keep going.
I like how you said your son. We all have to have a why. So what motivates you, Sincere, to keep going? Because you've had your struggles in life. What keeps you going?
I think it's basically my upbringing. I really believe when you raise right, not always financially, but instilled with good values, you tend to get back to those. And if you really get back to the core of those, it's kind of hard to give up on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, had a good foundation, and I could never quit.
Can never quit. Who else? So who else would like to answer that question? What motivates you to keep going? Because it's not easy. It's not easy, V, right? What motivates you to keep going?
Family. Like, I can tell everybody, I know it's kind of, it sounds kind of cliche, but that's one thing that I can honestly say about myself is that my family it motivates me to keep going and motivates me to just be as good as I can be. Because when I think about, my great grandkids, my great grandnephews, even, the ones I'll never get a chance to meet, I want to leave a foundation for them to say, okay, even if they've never met their great uncle or their great grandfather, they know this establishment, whatever it is, a business or whatever it is, was created for us. It was created for us to have and for us to pass down, for us to become something great within ourselves. So, that's motivating me right now, to leave something that's going to be here to take care of my family, even as I'm gone. So I'm very driven by that.
Yeah, motivation is key. And I Christopher, I know all of you guys. I've met all of you guys. Christopher, your story, I think is something that people need to hear, because you've faced a lot in your life, but you're still motivated. Even having a conversation with you is motivated. And I never hear you say, I can't. You always say what you're going to do. So what motivates you? What clicked in your mind to say, you know what, I need to speak this to myself? Because I hear you do that. You speak to yourself about what you're going to do. What motivates you to keep doing that?
All my parents are gone, and as far as the generation that brought me into this world, the generation that groomed me is not here now. So I have no stand up. I had to breathe, and I had to live for them. And I had to keep the message and the strength and everything I got and everything I was taught to keep them alive. I had to live for them. So that's what motivates me.
That's what
the last line of defense is me.
That's right. Darren, I see you shaking your head. That resonated with you, I can tell. Yeah. What motivates you to keep going? Family? What motivates you to keep going?
For me personally, it's the Most High. And I know for the majority of the people, we all have a God or some type of belief system. But if we all admit at the end of the day, almost everything that we have in our mind already has been programmed. A lot of us, we don't even check the facts. We're just programmed to believe what we hear. And so when I started my journey, what I started realizing is that at the end of the day, to each his own, but there's loopholes in everybody's religion. But the one thing that I keep finding common ground in is God is the same. The names are just changing.
That's right.
Islam, they call him Allah. The Bible, they call him God or Christ. You got Krishna. They're all the same. So what I got a story to tell is I just want to tell God's story. No adding, no taking away. So that what keeps me motivated. But you can't tell God's story and not tell the physical story. Like, you got to be able to put what's going on in the world and line it up with the Bible or the Word of God. Because I don't think it's a history book. I think it's a prophecy book. And once we start once we stop being, the title Black Man in America, once we stop being the black man that America wants us to be, and we be the man or the female that's in all of us, that's when we can truly put a dent in what's going on. So that's what keeps me motivated, knowing that
that's
it's
deep.
a mental thing, and I gotta go higher because everybody wants to attack it from a monetary standpoint, or you want to put on a facade, where until we get enough people where we just try and change mentals, I feel like sometime I'm out here by myself, and so that's what keeps me motivated.
You aren't, brother. You aren't. You are on a platform right now with like-minded people. This is exactly why I brought you guys together. I've had conversations with each and every one of you, and I thought that bringing like-minded people together would resonate with other people, because all of us grew up and it was not the best circumstances. Every last one of us grew up. It was not the best circumstances, yet we still are able to overcome, and we realize what the power that we have within us. And when you can tap into that power, it makes a difference in your life. So the next question that I want to ask you guys, and I'm not going to point to anyone, just if you want to answer, just answer. There are a number of stereotypes associated with Black men. I know you guys know this. You guys are called violent. You guys are looked at as violent. If you have a beard, you're looked at as even more violent. Just your stature, your voice, all of that is stereotypical. And for some people, it puts fear in their hearts. A lot of these times, the feelings come from trauma, bad examples that they've seen, and they want to place everyone in that box. How does that make you feel? And any one of you guys can answer that question. How does that make you feel? V?
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, like when I was younger, because I feel now that I'm grown, because I'm 27, so now that I'm grown, I feel like mentally I feel a lot different than in which I did when I was younger, because when I was younger, I just kind of felt bad because I was like, one, I'm a target. On the other hand, it's like no matter what you really do, you seem like a threat or, some type of hazard to people. But as I, got older, I just became comfortable with myself and who I am. And it's one thing I had to realize, even here as a grown man, as I'm still learning, is that, every day I have a chance to be myself and I have a chance to be as great as I want to be. I was born at a disadvantage. And that's just what it is. Sometimes you can't change everybody's perception of anything. People are always going to think what they think or feel how they feel. And so it's up for me to just stay true to myself, and go out here and give every day everything I got, and not really worry too much about society's way of thinking or what society really feels to me. Just, being myself, whatever that is, however I feel, however I want to do things, still with being cautious of the situation that I'm in. So that's how I feel about it.
Thank you for that, V. I think it's amazing when a Black man is able to realize that the greatness that he has within him. I always look at the Black man and I think to myself, I see your crown, but I also see your hurt. I see your crown, but I also see the situation that you've been in for a long time. And you may not feel like you can get out of that situation, but you can, because you have a crown on top of your head. And it hurts my heart to see that a lot of young men, they fall to the wayside because they don't realize that they can get themselves out of that situation. You truly can. Darren, you had your hand up. Would you like to elaborate about the stereotypes? How does that make you feel? And you're a parent, correct? Do you have a son?
I got 6 total.
See?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Even as a dad, I know how that makes me feel as a mom. I have 3 Black sons, 3 Black kings. So I know how that, and they're big guys. So I know how that makes me feel. How does that make you feel?
I really don't have a feeling much to anymore, only because out of the 6, one of them is he's white. So I have a white son. So I don't have time. And I tell the kids, we don't have time to get caught up in feelings. The only thing we can do is, like V said, is we just got to push through it. When I was at Pepsi, there was this white guy, and he told me, he's like, Darren, I'll be honest with you. I used to say the N-word all the time. And he's like, but until I met you, and he's like, and you're nothing like the TV portrays. And that's the problem, man. It's the media that puts everything in our mental. So I just tell the kids, man, like, you like V said, everything is perception, but your perception changes with your reality. And a lot of people is never going to live the black man's reality, and they're just not going to understand it. So
that's true.
Do I keep pounding it mentally, or do I go about it a different way? So I tell the kids, man, like, if you worship a God, no matter what that God, we're supposed to be the image of the invisible God we serve. And there's people that'll tell you they're in the God, but that image that they're portraying, I'm like, damn, what type of God do you serve? Because God just don't do that. So it's like V said, man, you got to find it within yourself, and then put yourself on the pedestal, because
that's right.
We keep trying to live up to these pedestals of this society, and that shit is hard work, man. And especially men, like, we're stressed out trying to maintain an image of a perfect man. You got to take care of the wife or the girlfriend, but you also gotta be considered hard, and it's too much. Like, who puts this on our plate, and who says we have to follow it? And so that's why I tell it, like, you gotta do what you gotta do, what makes you feel comfortable in your heart, because that's the only thing that's gonna feel natural. If you're doing something that's not natural, it's gonna be work at the end of the day.
That's right. Christopher, you had your hand raised. Would you like to elaborate on that question? How do you feel about stereotypes?
People's just going to stereotype me because, you know, this is what it is. First of all, I was born with melanin in my skin. I'm a black man. Yeah. And let me tell you something. Being black is the best thing that ever happened to me, because my skin, the melanin in my skin is worth more than gold and diamonds and anything else you can put on the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we build this wonderful world by hand. My ancestors, your ancestors, everybody on this panel, ancestors, we are builders. We are creative. We're like that. We're like something that's always going to be looked at, because we're a symbol of power. So when you got a symbol of power, and when you got so much, you know what I mean, of that in your DNA, in your skin, we're going to have people that's going to hate us.
That's right.
Because that's what come along with it. So
that's right.
I'm going to let them do their job and hate. And I'm going to do my job and shine.
That's right. That's right. Speak on it, brother. Speak on it, brother. Come on. Who else would like to answer? Come on, Nick. Answer that question. How do you feel about stereotypes?
I feel as though, like we just said, once you're aware of a stereotype, it's your job now to work around it. To me, it empowers you. It makes you work harder. It makes you want to show people other than what it is. I had the privilege, also the misfortune, of being the only black in my whole high school.
I was thinking about that, Nick.
So,
you went to a private school.
I figured out early in life what it was, and unfortunately, it got the best of me at first, because I fought the fact that I'm doing the right thing and I'm not getting rewarded for it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to understand that it was because of my blackness. So with that, instead of fighting through it, being in basically a racist city, I kind of went along with the stereotype. Well, I can show you I can do it this way. Mm. And when you don't have, as we're speaking today, black men here to correct those mistakes, you will fall victim to these stereotypes, because you will start believing that maybe that's all I am. That's all I can be. Maybe that's what I need to do. Especially when you hear the saying, yo, I had to do what I had to do. I had to say, no, what you had to do was go to McDonald's. What you had to do was go to Burger King. But as black men, especially black men, our excuse is we had to do to put something on the table. But putting something on the table means sacrificing. And once we understand that, we'll be better off. Because like someone said, we get into these stereotypes about being hard, about being manly. And honestly, we really don't know what it is to be a man. Because what it is to be a man is to sacrifice. And it's going to be some lumps and some bruises with that. And I'm learning that right now. But, you know, that's what I get from fall into these stereotypes?
Calvin, I want you to answer, but Christopher, because this is that is your word, sacrificial. When the first conversation we had, and you don't have to go deep into it. You said that you were you sacrificed, but you were the sacrificial lamb in your family, and because you were the sacrificial lamb, your children did not have to grow up in poverty. They grew up in the suburbs. So yes. If you can, I just want you to elaborate, because I saw you with your hand up. Elaborate a little bit about that, because Nick, you said a lot in that, and thank you for that, because you said a lot. So Christopher, if you can elaborate, and then I want to ask Calvin about how he feels about the stereotypes, because he's a single Black dad. So it's a lot when you're a single dad and you're raising a Black son. So Christopher, if you can just elaborate a little bit more into the stereotypes and how you felt like you sacrificed a lot, but it was worth it, even though that stereotype was there, and you fell into that stereotype for a while, but now you know different.
I know, I truly do know different. But during the time, it was a little movement in my family, and this is before my kids was born. And so I did things that, some days I could talk about, a lot of things I can't. But when it was time for things to go down and for things to be as they are, to give my kids to the suburbs, to give my brother, what he needed, because I was I was like the provider for all of them. And to get them where they had to go at, the sacrificial lamb was me. I had to go away for a long time. And I had to give up everything. I had to sacrifice everything. But through that sacrification and through that time I lost, they don't want for nothing.
Yeah. It's hard.
And that's what it is. And you know what? I wouldn't take none of that time back I did for them.
It's definitely hard, and sometimes you do fall into the stereotypes. Sometimes that you feel like your back is up against the wall and you fall into that stereotype. The issue is everyone's not that stereotype, and that's where we fall into. Or when you come home and you're reformed and you're trying to change your life, they're still trying to place that stereotype on you. So Calvin, if you can elaborate a little bit about how you feel about the stereotypes, because your story is a little bit different. You grew up, you're working in an industry that's predominantly run by white males. A lot of times when you look up in those rooms, in those conference rooms, you're the only Black male in there. How does that make you feel? Because a lot of they're always having those stereotypes in the back of their head, but you still push forward. So how does that make you feel?
So I think from my perspective, it's always been the stereotype doesn't define me. It's your perspective of what the situation is. So it's never been something that I fed into. Like the age-old trope, like Black people like chicken. Everybody likes fucking chicken. So like that doesn't define me. It's just your perception of it. And the same kind of goes as a dad. Like there are, and he goes to a majority white school. There are perceptions that people try to put onto him, but it's important that he understands who he is and where he comes from. And so that when those perceptions are placed upon him, he knows how to reject them, as they're not something that it doesn't describe to the way that he's being raised. So it's never been something that I've put much weight into. It's like, you can think what you want to. I'm an individual and I'm this person and this is who I'm presenting to you at the time. So it hasn't had a negative impact for me.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for that. I want to talk now about something that a lot of Black communities will not talk about. It's something that I didn't even realize was an issue. I thought that it was something that did not go on in Black communities, and that's mental health, depression, anxiety. It is real. You guys have a lot to deal with. You are made to believe, you are made to think that you have to be out in the streets and be this masculine person. It's hard for you to be vulnerable. And a lot of times because of that, you deal with mental health issues and you don't even realize that they're there. And they're masked. They're masked with things like liquor. There's masked with drugs. They're just masked. They're not even talked about. You know, growing up, I can remember that my grandmother used to have to take her nerve medication. Now that I'm older, I realize that it was probably anxiety medication. And you guys may have had people in your family that also dealt with, you know, mental health, but it wasn't called mental health. It was, oh, their nerves are bad, or they're having a nervous breakdown. So have any of you guys ever had to deal with depression, anxiety, or felt some type of sadness where it was like, I know something's going on, but I don't know what this is, or had family members that dealt with mental health issues? Nick, go ahead. You have your hand up.
It took me, the hell with years, it took me decades to accept that, and I still don't like to use the word depression, that I was in a funk. That I didn't want to accept that I needed help. Maybe not medication, maybe not what people just see mental health as, but I needed someone to talk to. I needed someone to unload my weight on. And I think the biggest problem within the Black community is the perception of mental health. Not that we don't subscribe to the fact that we have issues. It's what mental health, the word mental health, means to us. Mental health to most Black men is a stigma of you're crazy. Something's like really wrong with you. Not that you're just going through something. Not that you need some shoulder to lean on. You know, I grew up in one of those households because of the generations before, whereas though I was taught to suppress those issues because I was the man. Men don't have time for that. Men can't deal with that. But what I've learned over time was what they were saying wasn't ideally wrong. What they were saying was, you have to still do what you have to do. You just have to go talk on the side. But they wasn't saying that. They wasn't saying that they had a wife that they wouldn't unload it on. They had a best friend that they wouldn't unload it on. They just said, man up. And we took that as, hey, I can't talk to nobody. And that subjected us to touching our woman, touching our kids, parents, friends, the violence that permeates from us, because people think of depression of sadness. Depression is a down mode until it's acted out. It comes out violently, you know. So with that being said, a lot of us with these mental health issues need to be able to say, like I am proud to say now, that, yeah, I had some doggone problems. And I'm glad I chose to finally accept help and speak to someone. It's all about also trusting someone and believing that you can speak to someone.
That's right. And I love that you said trust, because that's what it is. Once you establish trust with someone and you're able to speak with them, then you can unpack that stuff and get a lot of that weight off your shoulders, because a lot of you guys honestly are carrying so much weight, and it's hard to deal with it. And you feel like you don't have anyone to lean on, and you feel like you're out there alone. So you're dealing with these mental health issues inside by yourself. Would anybody else like to elaborate about the mental health, or just dealing with depression, anxiety, or seeing people in your family deal with mental health and anxiety? I know myself, I did not realize, and I think about this, Nick, I'm glad you said something. It resonated with me, because when my first son was born, I remember when he would cry, we would tell him, suck it up. You know, his dad, suck it up, don't cry. And now it's like, no, it's all right to cry. You don't have to hold all of those things in, because if you hold it all in, what's going to happen is you're going to end up lashing out at everyone around you, and you're going to start pushing everyone away, because you're dealing with things and you don't want to be vulnerable enough to talk about it. It's real. Yes, real men cry. Real men truly cry, and it's okay to cry. But growing up, you're told that you shouldn't cry. I remember my son crying, and it's like, suck it up. And he's this little guy, and his dad's this big guy. So imagine how he felt at 1 or 2 saying that you're not able to cry. V, would you like to tap in? I see you had your hand up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You bring up a very good point. And I think this is something that I was talking to, my sisters about a little while ago. And I even mentioned this on Clubhouse. It's that exact fact. It's like, I remember that. I remember feeling that as a young man. It was like, because I had 2 older sisters. So, if I fall down and my sister fall down, they're going to pick my sister up and tell her, it's okay. You can cry, baby. Express yourself. But they're going to slap me upside my head and tell me, get it together. You all right. Boys don't cry. And I think we as parents, as people, don't realize how that really damages a person or a child, because you talking about this is all is to not really, express your emotions or your feelings or how you feel. So by the time you're a grown man, you're 21, you're 28, you're 35, you're in relationships, and a female trying to figure out, why can't you express yourself, or why can't you, say what's on your mind or communicate? It's because I've never known how to do so, if I'm being honest. And at some point as a man, when you get older, you have to learn how to be accountable and identify this and address it. But until you reach that point, you're living life and you're not even aware. Since I've been a child, I've never really been expressing my feelings or how I truly feel when I'm hurting. I can express how I'm feeling, if I'm happy or.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. It does. And what happens is it carries over into relationships, and not just relationships between a mate. It carries over into friendships as well, because now you don't know how to communicate. You're angry, and you're holding all of this stuff in, and it's festering. It truly festers like a sore. I had to learn through my own journey that holding on to that stuff, it only does us harm. It truly does. We, as a Black community, not just Black men, as a Black community, we have got to heal. We are holding on to so much trauma. We're holding on to our parents' trauma, our grandparents' trauma, our great-grandparents' trauma, and we don't even realize that these are things that we've been carrying with us from generation to generation. And because we haven't healed, and we don't even know enough to heal, like you said, V, it wasn't until you got grown that you knew enough that I need to fix something. So if we don't fix it, it's going to carry over into the next generation. And that is what we do not want to happen, especially if we know that we're a little bit broken inside, that we aren't right inside. We need to fix that as a Black community. We have got to fix that. Go ahead, Nick, tap in.
Yeah, and what a lot of us Black men was afraid of, because I was afraid of, and we gonna get the monkey out the room. You so afraid of the different movements going on. I'm not against homosexuality. I'm not against no one else's profession. But when as a young man you're raising a boy, that's what we was bred to make sure, he doesn't act this way. And it's a fine line. But I had to learn to tell my son it's all right to cry. It's just that you have to get back on up. But that's with any child. And we have to learn to be able to do that with our young Black men also. That no, it's all right to cry. But we're just telling you just can't sit down and just keep crying. Yeah, we might let your sister sit down a little longer. But because you are a boy, I might get you up a little faster. But it is all right to have these feelings. Because as you said, these feelings will be lashed out. Now, as a boy, I am one of those people that say, okay, you can cry, get it out the way. Now you're a young man, you have to get back on up. But be forced to, like I was, not to be able to express my emotions and suppress them. And I was one of the ones who went and took it out on people outside. A small man complex, issues. Because when I went back home, I had to shut up. I was told that this is what young men do. And all I really want to do was just say I had a bad day. And I knew what I had to do in the morning. I just knew I had a bad day. So with that being said, I just think that it's all right to be tough, but you have to let them have the breakdown. We just don't know how to build back up. You always say you can yell at your kid, but after you yell at your kid, tell your kid you love them. We like to tell our kid, you a young man, it's all right to cry, but you got to build them back on up. But we don't know how to build them back up, so we so scared to let them fall. And that's one of our mistakes.
That's right. I'm glad that you touched on sexuality, because growing up, especially growing up where we did and growing up in the 70s and the 80s, they looked at it as if it was weak. But sexuality has nothing to do with it. Not at all.
Nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all. But that was that goes back to that stereotype as well. Because I know men who are gay, you wouldn't even believe that they are, because they have this masculine persona. So it has nothing to do with sexuality. And I'm glad that I'm so happy that you said that the only thing you wanted to do was say, I had a bad day. Many of us are not able to say that. I had a bad day. I'm not okay. We have to let our children have those days. We have to allow ourselves to say, I am not okay. I'm not feeling it today. I need a break. I need a break from this mass chaos. I'm going out into this world, and I'm looked at as a threat. I'm looked at as if I'm going to rob you. I'm looked at as if I'm a failure. And that's a lot to unpack. Right away, you guys are looked at as a threat. And we have to change that persona. We have to change that stereotype, because many of you are just out there trying to feed your family. And you should be allowed to do that, but you aren't. And that's what I'm trying to do. I want to bring light to the fact that Black men have a lot against them. And on top of having a lot against you, you guys have mental health issues that you can't even take the time to deal with, because you have to be out there pushing and striving. You have to be out there dealing with people who may not like you, and you have a family that you may have to raise. So let's talk about how it was growing up where you grew up, because many of us grew up, in poverty. I know I grew up in the projects of Lackawanna, and like as we were discussing before, Nick, the only thing that separated the Blacks from the whites was a freaking bridge, and we thought that across that bridge was where you were when you made it. Even now, it shocks me, and I say it all the time, driving across the bridge, and I still call it across the bridge. Driving across the bridge, and my mom lives over here. Driving across the bridge and seeing Black people walking around still shocks me. It still blows my mind, because I remember when we were chased, and then we would chase them. So how does it make you feel now, seeing what's going on in this world, and still dealing with what you have to deal with on an everyday basis? Nick, if you can talk about across the bridge, because you and your mom, you guys lived across the bridge also.
Yeah, that was so tricky for me, as you said, because not only did I live in the hood per se, I went to all private schools.
Yeah.
So my battle was twofold. I'm battling the stereotypical things that's put on me at these white schools, but then I'm coming back home, and unfortunately, which I never understood, your friends was mad at you because you were smarter than them.
Yep.
It was like, yo, I got a 69. So if I told them I had a 90, yeah, who you think you are? I kind of did my work today. But the divide for individuals striving within the neighborhood compared to people we think are right over the bridge is so crazy, because as each individual can tell you, when you get older and you go over to the area you thought was kind of better than yours, it was attached to yours. It really wasn't that much better.
And there was no
but they really, right, they really just try to bottle you up to make you think that you couldn't go no further than four corners. So with that being said, like I said, the separation within the community is twofold, because you're separated from society thinking that you ostracized. And then within your own community, you got two projects that were separated by one street, and we went to war with each other.
Yes, we did.
And a lot of us came from these Black neighborhoods that is one street over, maybe two streets over, and we're warring with each other.
And let's not talk. And don't forget about the Bonies. We had three separations.
So
we had two projects
in
side streets, and we thought that one was better than the other. And we were all striving for the same thing. This is how when I started realizing what was going on, I became angry. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've been bamboozled all of these years. I was made to think that I could not be better. I was made to think that one bridge separation made somebody better than me. And I can remember, you guys, and I just want to tell this story. I can remember when my kids were younger. Now, I got 6 kids, you guys, 2 sets of twins. And I was taking them into the Kmart in West Seneca. And I remember there was this white lady walking out the door, but we were walking in. So my kids were going in there. I quickly grabbed my kids, thinking in my head, this is how mind screwed we were, thinking this white lady needs to come out the door first before me and my 6 kids go in the door. This is how bamboozled our minds are. We were programmed to think that just because we're Black, and it gets better, because during Black History Month, what did they tell us? Oh, you got here and you should be grateful because your ancestors were slaves. Your ancestors were slaves. So this is the mind F that they gave us. And then they put us in a place where all you see is poverty. All you see around you are drugs. All you see around you are people robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's all you see. So this is the mind screw that they gave us. So how do you guys feel growing up? All of you guys come from different backgrounds. How do you guys feel thinking about where you grew up and what you're doing now, what you now know? Go ahead, Darren.
And I'll just piggyback on you and Nick, because I live in Lackawanna now. And so I was telling my wife, and no disrespect to anyone that's listening from Lackawanna, but I said to her, I was like, damn, like there's a lot of recycled relationships in Lackawanna, meaning it's not out the norm to where a female would have had 4 to 5 same guys. But because Lackawanna, like when I moved out here, I was like, damn, Lackawanna is simply, you could fit Lackawanna 10 times into the Maston district where I'm from in Buffalo, which is just the Bailey Delavan area. So I'm like, but like you said, but when I talk to people in Lackawanna, they look down on Buffalo. But it's funny because Buffalo looks down on Lackawanna. Like, but when a Lackawannian told me it's a drop off in status to move into Buffalo, I was like, wow, like, and that's what made me realize, like, everybody's getting the same program, but to some, the program is just on a larger or a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Like how you guys are saying, you guys came over the bridge and it was night and day. Well, Buffalo's connected to Lackawanna, just a skyway. It's night and day. And so that's what made me realize, like, wow, like we're done for, because we can't even figure this out. So like you said, we're all fighting. Like you said, I grew up off of Delavan, but I'm fighting people that's 10 blocks down the street on Bailey. And it's like, but it's all mental programming. So that's, I totally 100% agree with you guys. But it's like, but how do we come out of the programming? Because the things that Lackawannians do, if you do it in the city of Buffalo, like if I was to sleep with a female and I know for a fact that she was already with this one particular guy and we somewhat know each other, it's beef on sight. And that's why you see a lot of drama in Buffalo, but in Lackawanna, it was just different. Like it's more family oriented to me, at least in Lackawanna, because I'm coming from Buffalo to where I'm not looking for drama. So when I got to Lackawanna, you guys know each other. Like I'm the outsider, but you guys embrace me with open arms. But as kids growing up, we follow a program that we don't even know is there. And if the parents didn't figure it out, then how are the parents going to teach like, unfortunately, it's going to take this panel. We're not old, but we're not young. But that middle generation has to break the curse. Everybody keeps saying we gotta depend on the kids. The kids are doomed if the parents are it's just out of whack. And unfortunately, there's too many adults that don't have a clue what's going on. Like we're literally trying to live our best life by being what they want us to be. And we're so programmed. And I'll end it here real quick because I don't want to get babbling. But if anyone remember the DC snipers, and leaving Malvo or I forgot their names, but Malvo, they were getting the reason why they were getting away so long is because they were profiled as white men. But it wasn't until they wrote that letter when they started figuring out. And so the first mistake these blacks made was they spelled Allah with the letter, the lowercase a. Anybody that's Muslim and and all over Allah, you're going to get the capital A. So right then and there, they knew they weren't Arabic and they weren't white. The moment they realized they were looking for black men, they were caught within 2 days. And that's because we're programmed to do what they program us to do. Like, it's mind-boggling that whites can shoot up schools all day, but
we're going to get into that.
Just throw it to the side. But
we're going to get into that.
The very first time a black student shoots up a school, you're going to see it for 7 days because the media dictates how we act. And as black men, we only program to take our savageness out on each other. And the moment we just start doing the opposite, that's the awareness movement. They're not messing with us because we're not the minority. There's no way in hell we make up 13% of America when the majority of blacks live in the most condensed populations of every city. So you could take Hamburg, Orchard Park, West Seneca. You could take all these suburbs. It still doesn't equal the infrastructure, the amount of high schools, hospitals that you must have in the black communities. So if you just look around your own city, you're always going to see the blacks in the biggest area because there's way more of us. But they don't want us to know that because once we figure that out, we don't need guns anymore. Like, this is our biggest weapon.
This is our biggest weapon.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Once we work together, this game is over. So everybody that hates us, they're going to be gravitating to us because something's coming and the old world is not going to be, it's going to be a new world. So if African Americans don't figure this shit out, we're going to be slaves again in a new world.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
I would rather die before I'm not going to be a slave in this new world. That's
I was in the car riding with somebody on this panel one time, and they're gonna laugh when I say this. First of all, we gotta get to the meat and potatoes of the problem. The meat and potatoes of the problem is there's a lot of backhand deals and there's a lot of handshaking going on downtown, and it's called regentrification.
Yep, that gentrification is serious.
Now, not only is they stretching out downtown Buffalo, if you're from Buffalo, you know what I'm talking about. And they guess what you know what the agenda, the first part of the agenda is when the regentrification is get rid of them and lock them up.
Yep.
Second phase is they sell the land off. They're gonna say, and they buy the land for cheap, and they're gonna say, and then they lock more of us up. Lackawanna's being regentrified right now. If you pay attention,
guys got the water. It's prime.
That's what I always listen. I always say this to people: if you got land, they are knocking down those projects. They're knocking them down.
Buy it.
Yes.
What I don't understand is this. With that being said, sometimes we must understand this too, and this is where the issue comes into play. We are aware of this regentrification. We are aware of the moves but most people are. And know what? Most people do just what we're doing now, just talk about it. That is the black community problem. We complain about the issues. We want to talk about what they ain't doing for us, but we never come together, bring no type of coalition in order to do this. Or if you see one coalition, oh, I don't want to be a part of this, so now we're going to create 5 other ones that going to beef each other. And then you have the Arab coalition, you have the Puerto Rican coalition, you have the Jewish coalition, you have the Irish coalition. They all get things done because they're going to fight with each other. But when we face them, we are together. We can't even come together, let alone face someone to get something done.
We don't realize that our unity.
All this property is here to be bought. We can buy this property.
Yes.
All this is here. Some of these churches, I got to give some of these churches, Reverend Pritchard, some of these credits. Every month, they're throwing seminars on buying homes and everything. We cannot make the excuses no more that the resources no longer there when we don't attain these resources. We don't use these resources. They always say, what's a black man problem? Yo, you put it in a book, we ain't gonna learn it. But if you tell him what to do, he gonna follow. So they're gonna put it in the paper, they're gonna put it up on the bulletin board, and black people gonna walk right on by and complain instead of reading it, learning how to do it, and coming together. We don't have to be friends. We have to be business partners. I understand what 10% is of 100. So I don't have to like you, but this contract is going to do what it's going to do. And let's buy these properties together, make this money, and go our separate ways.
Yep.
Go ahead, first things first. Let's get to like I said, I'm glad I got us moving with the conversation.
Yes.
But first things first, what we got to do is we got to become self-sufficient.
That's
right. What I mean by self-sufficient, I don't go buy tires off of Walmart. I come buy tires at your store because that's what you sell. We got to put our money in a circle.
That's right.
And then when we become self-sufficient, then we'll have a voice, and then we'll symbolize power. Meaning that we got to start trusting in each other. We have to start investing in each other, and we have to start moving forward and with each other.
That's right.
And it can start with this panel right here.
Go ahead, Chris. No, finish your thought, brother. Finish your thought.
These 6 people that I'm looking, these 5, me count 6. It could start right here. Because I don't have no hate for nobody on this panel. And I ain't better than nobody. And you know what I'm saying? If I can give a hand, here it is, bro. I got 2 of them.
That's right. And that's what we need to do. That it's the unity. We were taught, first off, we were taught to not trust each other. Yes. Oh, you will take your money across the bridge. I'm using across the bridge. You'll take your money across the bridge before you go down the street to Rogers because you don't trust the black man. You'll take your money over to the white man because you think you're going to get a better price, but you just don't realize that small business right there, you need to be supporting because that small business is going to make sure the money is circulating in the community so that we can build up our community. We were taught these things and it was programmed into our head. And now we pass that down. I know people that still will not buy black. Baby girl, the one who's moderating, she will not buy. She buys black. She will pay $20 for some soap or something because it's black. But that's a new generation. You know what I mean? That's the generation that's coming up now. If we teach them right, then that money will continue to circulate. There was Black Wall Street in more than one place. It wasn't just in Tulsa. We had communities that were thriving. And each time they were thriving, someone came in and they broke it down. And I want to bring this up too. You're right, Roger. Exactly. We were taught.
I think V wanted to say something.
Who did?
Go
ahead, Darren. Oh, V, go ahead. Tap in, brother.
Someone's trying to get a hold of you, Vette, in a private chat.
Okay.
Yo, V says something.
Okay, V, hold that thought. We have to go to break in a few minutes. So you guys make sure you come back. We are having I knew this was going to be fire. So we're going to go to break. Come on back. Stay tuned.
Charm City Direct TV, Baltimore's newest social media online network. By real people, for real people. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/CharmCityDirectTV. YouTube at Charm City Direct TV, and IG at Charm_City_Direct TV. Charm City Direct TV. We are the heartbeat of the city.
Support. I got to piss.
We are back, you guys. Look at it. I love it. It's all good, though. It's all good. It really is. This talk about gentrification is real, and I want to. We are all seeing it. Calvin, you're in Chicago. You see it. So let's talk about what gentrification is doing for the black males, because in Chicago, you see these neighborhoods on the South Side, and you see that they're pushing Black people out there. They're building up these neighborhoods, and instead of building up these neighborhoods so that the people that are living there can continue to live there, even though they may not have the income, what they're doing is they're raising the rent. They're raising the rent. Some of the rent prices and the housing prices in Chicago, it just blows my mind. I look at a house and it's $400,000, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that house, if it was in Buffalo, it may be $150,000 in Philadelphia as well. And Shalene, yes, Shalene's a realtor. Thank you so much for joining us, Shalene. The housing market is ridiculous when it comes to gentrification. So go ahead, Chris Baynes, tap into what you got to say.
Okay, so
we're going to go to V. I didn't want to hold off on V.
Okay, the business classes the Muslims have. I took that class. So y'all know I'm a Muslim, and that class that they give, and all Muslims that they're having this class, and they're telling, and this is the foundation of the class. It says if we keep our money in a circle, it will never see an end. And that's what they teaching their sisters, brothers, kids, right? That's what they come out. That's why, have you noticed that they don't spend outside this circle?
That's right.
If we get that circle going, we will not perish, man.
And that's
That's exactly.
Before V taps in, I want to say something, because you said something that is huge, and I don't think we realize that if we spend within our community, we can build up our own community. Stop looking for someone to build up something that we are living in. Stop looking for a handout. V, go ahead and tap in. I don't want you to feel like you can't tap in. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
But I wanted to comment on the topic where we were just discussing, how I feel versus, coming up versus, how I am right now. So where I came from, transferring to where I am right now.
Yep.
And I just really wanted to say, y'all really brought up a very good point, which is what I say to people all the time. I have accepted, and I think this is something that every African American needs to accept. We are born at a disadvantage. There are always going to be systemic problems. There are always going to be people who are racist. We cannot control these things unless we control ourselves, and it starts from within. And that makes me think about coming up as a child. That's why I said it was a great topic, because where I came from as a child, I was raised by my great grandparents. They were from down south. But my mother got high, my father got high, but my father was in and out of jail. And I never, to be honest, I never really knew my father. And my mother was always around, but me and my mother, never had a relationship where we communicated like I really knew her. She was just like around. And, my grandmother was like my mom. But I say this to say, growing up, not only did I not have a father or a male presence in the home, because my great grandfather died when I was younger, but I wasn't really aware of how to be a man or what it really meant to be a man, because I had not seen this. And as you get older, we go through life, we go through the systemic problems that we deal with. And it comes to a point in time where you consider stuff normal to be a black man. You consider, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to sell drugs because this is how I know to get money. I look at being a man as being masculine, saying what's on my mind, not letting nobody play with me. Not letting nobody play with you is not letting nobody punk you, in a sense, right? So you establish this type of demeanor or mindset where you're no longer open-minded or aware how to become better or get away from the circumstances and the systemic issues that you deal with right now. I wanted to bring up this point as well. I tell people all the time, and myself included, because I used to do this, as well. We'll always talk about how we're oppressed. We'll talk about our oppressors. And a lot of the things that black people say is true. We have been oppressed. We are oppressed. But my point is that when do we ever talk about the solution? Because just like people could say, prime example, we have been enslaved over 400 plus years. People never talk about the 50 years that African Americans weren't allowed to be educated, couldn't read or write, yet still created businesses that was burnt down for over 50 years. So when I tell people we had, just like y'all saying, we had to start enforcing this. Like, I didn't grow up with my parents, owning businesses or, managing bank accounts. So I was not aware of these things until I got older. These are things that we need to not only do, but pass down to our kids. And that's why I said, I'm just predicated on family. I'm real driven on family, because I already know if I don't do it, if I don't play a part in it, it's not going to happen. And
that's
I think,
right.
All of us carry that same mindset. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't become some type of entrepreneur, own something, or create something to pass down to my kids, or help my kids understand what it even means to be successful. Because what do black people say all the time? We'll tell our kids do what? Go to school and be something. But what is something? Do we ever say, go to college, become an entrepreneur, own a business, have assets? We don't really even know what that means. We're just speaking on what we know to be successful. And so, I just really wanted to bring that up because I said y'all brought up a very good point.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, V. And you touched on a lot. We have to, and I'm glad there's people in the chat. I just want to read off some of these because this is true. So Shalene Richardson had said that we need to start teaching our kids financial literacy. That's true. How many of us have grown up and we do not, we seen everybody's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Yeah, everybody's robbing Peter to pay Paul. We don't realize that there's things that we can invest in to make our money grow. We go out as soon as we get some money, we go out and we spend it on Jordans. We go and spend it on a vehicle. We go instead of investing it into something that you can pass down to your family. So go ahead, Calvin, tap into that.
So this is something that I feel like uniquely positioned to kind of talk to. So I'm a financial services professional, and like I've literally done customer service, sold investments, sold insurance, treasury management, and now on the digital banking side and like product management. And one of the things that I can like immediately see is that at 4 and 5 years old, white people are bringing their kids into the bank to talk to them about banking, opening up savings accounts. So it's a slightly different culture of just being, you learn through seeing, through doing, through participating. A lot of Black people are not doing or modeling those same behaviors. And while it doesn't need to look the same, most of us are stepping into the world with no information about how the financial system works. And that even ties into something like gentrification, where there have historically been systemic issues like redlining, which prevented Black people from getting FHA loans. So your grandfather couldn't get the home that creates generational wealth, but a white man at that same time was able to do so. These are systemic generational issues that keep happening over and over again. And if we don't put ourselves in the position to take advantage of them, we're going to continue to repeat the same issues over and over again. To Nick's point about like the land along the waterfront, it's been there for forever. But if we don't have a coalition, or people don't have or take advantage of the resources in order to be able to purchase a home or purchase a piece of land, it's kind of all for naught, especially when you consider that most banks have home buyer programs where you can invest over the course of a year or save over the course of a year to purchase a home, or they'll even give you a percentage of your deposit for your down payment for your mortgage. So there's lots of programs, but the vast majority of us, like Nick said, if someone doesn't tell us and if it's in a book, we ain't reading it. So it happens a lot, and something that I've seen consistently.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick. We're going to go to Nick, and then we're going to go to Christopher.
Yeah, like you were saying, and I was blessed like that, and he just spoke on. And it's two sides to that journey, because as I was blessed with, my mother taught me stocks and bonds, banking, all these things that allowed me to get a little bit into my history, to be able to go through all my trials and tribulations, give over 11 years of my life to the penitentiary system, but be able to come back home and stand on something. And as we all speaking on, that allows us to snap back off mistakes. See, a lot of us grew up knowing that once we made a mistake, we didn't think we could come back off a mistake, so we just kept down that lonely road. But when you are established financially, you know you have a good foundation, you know how to move money, you know how to make money, you know how to save money. You are allowed to make mistakes because you know a mistake is nothing but a chance to rebound to make it better. But a lot of us grew up with that Michigan bankrolls called in Buffalo. You wanted to show all your money. You wanted your money to be seen. Now, understanding the person with the most money is the person who really has no money in his pocket. I grew up in that age of 22. You want trues and vows. You know what I'm saying? You want shiny rims. You want wings on the back of your car. And as I think about that now, my kids kept on asking me, "Yo, Dad, why you keep on getting this type of vehicle? Why you keep getting this type of vehicle?" And I said, one thing you must understand, and a lot of us as Blacks don't understand this: how are you riding around in something that's worth more than what you're living in?
Woo! Speak on it, Nick. That's what I'm talking about.
How are you riding in something that you parked in on the street and you got to have 13 cameras on it because you're in a project on the street because you can't pull it in the garage or on a driveway, and you're getting mad because someone's leaning on it, but you know where you're at?
Yeah. Even
How many of us? How many of us didn't watch? Because I've been one of them people that went to jail, then had to sell the things that I prized. How many of us really sat back and really thought we had some money? And you went to jail. You had to call the same people that you didn't help out, your mother and your father.
yeah. I think about
No, we have our financial wits backwards of what we need, what we should have, and what we should strive for.
yeah. I think about the vehicles that I had, and I was living in the projects, and I think like how dumb, how like you don't know what you don't know until you realize what you know. And I think back, that money could have been used as a down payment to get my kids out the projects. That money could have been used to elevate our lives. That money could have been invested in something, but instead you feel like because you're living in the projects, you need a status symbol to show that you are better than, even though we're all living in the projects and we're all struggling. But if you got a nice vehicle sitting in the parking lot, or if your kid is wearing the latest Jordans or the latest clothes, then you're better, even though you're still living in the same place. You're still living in the same place. We have to get out of that mentality that we have to show our money, because we don't. Go ahead, Christopher, tap in.
First things first, y'all are very sharp peoples, and I learned a lot by sitting here at this table. I mean? Y'all gave me something that's more valuable than food, diamonds, and all that. Some real substance y'all gave me. So I'm gonna try to see if I can keep up with y'all big dogs. Y'all running good.
Stop it.
You know what I mean? Huh? All right. First and foremost, let's tackle the ground. Y'all got me up. You know what I mean? Y'all got me flying. But the ground thing is, where I roll right now, the government can't give me nothing. The state can't give me nothing. I don't want your welfare. I don't want your little checks and all that. I get out here and I grind. I make my way on my own. And that's the first line of defense when it comes to us as black peoples. We don't need your money. We can make our own because we're builders. And and first and foremost, we're gonna take this crutch away because we don't deserve this crutch. Because, like I said, we build nations, and that's just right. The way it is.
That's right.
I disagree.
And
how do y'all feel about that? How do you feel about that? Because I see where you feel about that, and I want to get a young brother perspective. V, how do you feel about that?
I agree. I agree 100%, and I would say, I think that aligns with who I am, as a black man, who I've came to be. Because one thing I tell people all the time, I believe, and this is just my personal perception of things, but I believe if us as African Americans, if we truly stick together, if we truly pulled out, resources together, our money together, and started to build businesses and create more entrepreneurs that own things, I don't believe that the police, for example, would be as much police brutality. One of the things I truly think is that, like me, I feel like, hey, police already know if I kill a black man, black people ain't going to do nothing but be upset, probably riot or something for a few weeks or something, and then it's going to all disappear. They don't own anything already. They're not going to keep, this movement going for months and months at a time to affect anybody else's money. They don't control anything because they don't own anything or have any money. So we can really do what we want because we'll let them riot and mess stuff up. And then, whatever they mess up is insured, we fix. They stop complaining after, a few weeks and life goes back to normal. And they're going to continue to make us rich by buying Gucci, Louis, Prada, everything that we put on the media to make things cool or popular, while walking past their brothers that also own designer and not helping build up the black community. And so we always, and I tell people this too, pay attention to society. Have you ever walked into a black-owned business, a barbershop, and seen it filled with Asians or Koreans? Never. But you notice, you'll see bars on every corner. You'll see Chinese joints and convenience stores filled with African Americans on the daily basis. And then people will turn around and go, we poor. We're poor because we help each other make each other poor. We don't even pull our money together to create wealth within ourselves because we give it to other cultures. And I'm not saying don't buy from white people or a certain race, But what I am saying, we have to be strategic in how we spend our money. That's all I'm saying. So, that's how I feel about it.
We have to be strategic on how we spend our money. We need, and I'm glad Christopher held up something. That is a Black-owned business, a small Black-owned business, a woman Black-owned business, Heavy Pressure. She's out there hustling. That is Black-owned, Heavy Pressure. That is what we need to do. We need to be wearing our own products. We need to be promoting our own products. Shalene said crabs in a barrel. That's true. We want to hold each other down instead of uplifting each other. We will rather go and buy from someone else or go to someone else. Now, V is a photographer. We will take our money and like V said, it's nothing against white people. It's not. I know white people who are very, very nice. I have a Jewish friend who's very, very sweet. I love this lady. But we also have to keep in mind that in order to uplift ourselves, we have got to help each other out. It's unity. That is the only way we're going to get out of this oppression. We have to change our mindset about our situation and start spending with each other. Why are we rocking Louis Vuitton? Why are we rocking Coach and Gucci when we can be rocking Heavy Pressure? When we can be rocking I'm Living B? Why are we not doing those things? Yeah, we can't rely on ourselves, and we need to be able to rely on each other. Go ahead, Nick, tap in.
And with that being said, let's clear the air with this supporting Black businesses. I have a lawn business, right? I support all Black businesses, and I can honestly say most of the people I support haven't actually asked me to cut their lawn. Most of the people I cut are white friends that honestly I grew up with from my school that really had nothing to do with me half my life, but support me. Know what's so crazy about supporting each other? This is supporting a Black business, not getting a discount, getting the same type work, but you're giving the money to a Black man. Stop coming to a Black business and he say 10,000 and you say, man, I can go to the white man for that. Well, I don't understand. Why would you want to do that? Because that comes down to jealousy. And that's where, let's get down to the bottom of this. Why we don't support each other is jealousy, is hate.
Yes.
Because if I tell you 10,000 and I can do this job just as well as he can do it for 10,000,
yes,
you're not going to give me the job because as a Black man, I wouldn't give you a discount. Yeah, that is enrooted. And that's what we really have to face first is our own demons. And that goes back to the mental issues. That goes back to the stereotypes. We feel as though we can't big each other up. We feel as though we can't come into partnerships with each other. I mean, we you know how many people root against someone like LeBron James? I mean, he brought his whole team to the top. And as people say, well, yeah, he think he this, he think that. Well, guess what? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with dragging your team? The white people do it all the time. They bring their kid up, make their kid the mayor, then his kid become the president. Look at Bush. This is what families do. But when we see another Black man doing it, instead of asking him for that same help or how to do it, we rather crabs in a barrel, hate on him, not support him, and want him to fail so he could be next to us in the project.
Woo, speak on it.
Instead of me not counting his pocket. As right now, I'm trying to help out a couple brothers. And Black people problem is you worried about what I'm getting. You need to be worried about what I'm giving you. Long as I'm getting bigger, you will get bigger. But you can't have what I had because you don't understand the sacrifice I might have made. And we have to get out of that notion of someone else's is mine, especially with family.
That's right. Listen.
Especially with family. Black families don't understand the foundation it takes to start generational wealth. And as someone started earlier, someone has to be sacrificed. I was sacrificed, and now I'm sacrificing myself.
Yes. Yes.
Because the first sacrifice, it didn't go right. Everything was fumbled. The money wasn't saved. The moves wasn't made right. So the sacrifice I'm making now the hate and the anger that's all towards me, it ain't nothing but love, because in the end, I know what I'm attempting to do and what I'm going to complete. But we have to get off this selfishness, this hate, and think that because we're not giving to you, I'm hating on you. And if I can't give you this price, I'm not going to support you. That's foolishness.
It truly is a crabs in a barrel mentality, and we have got to stop thinking like that. And we also, and I'm so happy because it aggravates me to no end. When you are dealing with a Black business, why would you go in there and ask for a discount? You have to start thinking to yourself, this is this person's livelihood. Would you go into Walmart and ask them for a discount? Would you go into Kay's Jeweler and ask them for a discount? But because of the color of my skin, you want to ask me for a discount. How dare you? And that is because they do not realize the sacrifices that you have got to make. Yes, Shalene, there's insecurities involved as well. There's so much to it. We have got to change our way of thinking. That is the only way that we will be able to get up out of this mess that we have been in for so long. A lot of us are still thinking with that slave mentality. We think that the next Black man should not have anything. And you think just because that next Black person has something that you should be jealous, but you don't realize the sacrifices, because it's always a sacrifice. There's sacrifices. If you want something, if you truly want something, you have got to work your butt off to get it. But the people are looking at the finished product. They aren't looking at the things that came before that product. I can hold up this and you can think that this is something, but you don't realize what came into play to get this. You don't realize what came into play to get this. They don't realize what came into play to get your lawn business, what V had to go through to get his photography business, what Christopher had to go through just to even get, a name for himself because of the things that he's gone through, what Calvin's gone through, what Darine's gone through. Nobody looks at that. They're looking at the finished product. What we have to do is start thinking for ourselves, because a lot of people think based on what Nancy said or what Shantanika said. You know what I mean? People aren't thinking for themselves. So go ahead. Who else wants to tap in on this? This is good. I'm so glad, and thank you to everyone.
First, I want to give a big up to Calvin, because I want to give a big up to Calvin before I let V, because he had his hand raised up. Because Calvin is a prime example. Sometimes we need to big up each other, and I'm gonna take this forum to do that. He's the prime example of fighting through what I was unable to fight through, what I was weak, but put a face on as strong. So I fell victim because I didn't want to be who I was, a very intelligent individual that was doing the right thing, that should have been able to leave his friends to the wayside. If I couldn't pick them up, why go down with them? So I just wanted that to be said for Calvin.
I appreciate that.
As we're talking about it, no one's giving each other those ups. And not saying, we have to start doing that as men and as an older generation. As he said, we have to start that now. So I just wanted to throw that in there. That's why I wanted V to get in also, because we need to hear what these young men say and stop judging them. Really listen. We talking about we need to open up, but when they try to open up, do we really listen?
Yes.
That's right. I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because Calvin is a prime example of what it looks like. V is a prime example of what it looks like when you decide to overcome that stuff. You guys are all prime examples. Chris, Nick, you guys have been incarcerated before. But even though you've been incarcerated, you guys know better now. You guys know that living that life does not get you anywhere, and you do not let it define you. And that's what I love. None of you guys are letting your situations define you. So go ahead, Chris. You had something to say?
The brother, I give y'all names. I just met y'all. We just met each other. But the brother over here with the black shirt, black little hat. I really felt.
Darren.
No, there wasn't the other one.
Oh, V.
No, Darren. When he was talking, I wanted to say I really felt your struggle, bro, and I really felt your pain. And for what it's worth, you've been through a lot, man. You've been through a lot, man. And I respect you for being able to stand all 10 toes down, and and go through life. I commend you for that. I really do.
Appreciate that, bro. Right back at you, Phil.
And the other, and that also goes to the other young brother too, and the brother in the white shirt. Because
Calvin.
Yeah, I mean, y'all really been through a lot, man. Y'all really been through a lot. And I'm the end result to what y'all doing. You know, y'all was forged in fire. You know what I mean? And y'all came out on top. So
exactly.
Because that's what it's all about. We all been through our trials and tribulations. We all been through the fire. We all been put in the fire. But look at us now. We're still here, right. And we're striving, and we're able to make money without robbing, stealing, or killing.
That's right. That right there. And I want to touch on something that I have saw. So Jasmine has said in the chat that a lot of Black people have not even been told, I love you. A lot of you guys are unable to say, I love you. We weren't raised with that. I love you. That's something. And I realized, I began to realize that it's something that was passed down. So my grandparents weren't that affectionate person. They weren't that affectionate person. So of course, my mom will not be that affectionate person. She's learned. It's funny because now she has these grandkids and she's way different than she was when she was raising us. But a lot of people, because they did not hear I love you, it's hard for them to provide that or be affectionate. So who wants to tap into that? Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
I still haven't heard from the elder men in my family, I love you. Mm-hmm. It was something that it took my kids to say to me that I'm thankful for from their mothers. That's one thing, regardless of the stipulations. I want to give a shout out to my baby mothers and all these mothers out here, because I know I put them through hell, and I know we put them through hell as Black men. Thank you. It took my kids to tell me I love you, and when they said it to me, I was stuck. That's what made me realize I wasn't comfortable with saying I love you. And this is the crazy part. I wasn't comfortable with saying I love you to my sons only. Not to my daughter. Not to females that I raised. Only to my sons.
That's deep.
My grandfather, I never heard I love you. My father, I never heard I love you. My stepfather, my brothers, I never heard it. I've really taken on the last decade of telling the men in my family, I love you.
Yeah.
Just to see the reaction. To get us used to saying, I don't like you, but I love you. I don't know you, but I love you. Mm-hmm. I might be wary of you, but I love you. Because a lot of us don't understand the difference between love and like. Mm-hmm. And then to go further, we don't even know the true definition of love. Because love would have kept my Black ass home a lot of times. Someone telling me they love me, aside from the woman, because the woman, I kind of brushed it off. I didn't want the woman to tell me they love me. Mm-hmm. I wanted to hear the man tell me he loved me. Not because it was soft, but when a woman said it, it seemed appreciative. So I wanted to hear that appreciation from my father.
Yeah.
From my grandfather. Now I'm here to say I know they did appreciate me and they love me, but the mind will play tricks on you.
Right.
And when you're looking for something and it doesn't fill that void, it'll take you to other places. So I'm not one of them believers in words don't hurt. Well, if they don't hurt, you telling me they don't help? No, they do help. So that means they can hurt. So with that being said, we have to learn how to say I love you more often, not as a sign of weakness, of a sign of you have someone there for you.
That's right. And you have to
that's what I love you really means. Right. At first you have to explain what it means. You have to tell them what it really means. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand what it means.
Who else wants to tap into that? Darren, I see you. I just want to, and Calvin. So I just want to read some of these comments. So Roger Jones
said that.
Okay, and so Roger Jones said, I didn't really learn to say that until I met my wife. And it is still hard at times. It's still hard at times. So he's married, and he did not learn to say that until he got married. And still, yet today, it's still hard at times. So who wants to tap in first? Just a quick. Okay, go ahead, Darren.
I will, but I'm gonna let V go. I seen him; he's been raising, so I'll go after.
Okay, V. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to miss you over
no,
there.
I
V.
I didn't want to disrespect him. Is all.
Go ahead, brother. You got it.
No, look, in our clubhouse, I normally let the women go first, but yeah, I appreciate you. No, but yeah. So I do. I agree with that 100%, like 1,000%. And I think for me personally, that's one of the reasons why I don't have a good relationship with my dad. It's because, it took a long time for me to not only accept, but to realize what my true traumas in life was. Because coming up, I didn't believe in mental health issues, or I didn't really believe in depression. It's like, no, I'm good. I might feel a certain way, or I might not like this, but I'm cook myself at a young age, and so pull myself back out of that mindset. But when I did, I realized a lot of things. I realized, I was 24 years old, and it had hit me that my relationship.
V's having some technical difficulties. That's fine. So while he's doing that, okay, I hear you, V. Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, my earphones had died. So basically, what I was just saying was, I had to realize that I was depressed in a lot of ways, and I did have a lot of traumas that I needed to deal with as a man. But I realized that I never knew my dad, and so when he came home, I had all of those feelings, had started coming back from me being a child that I never even had a chance to address. And coming up, I was raised around women. So, just like Nick was saying, it's different from hearing I love you and getting that appreciation from your dad or man, because, you always know that your mom loves you. You always know your sisters, they sincere, so that you're used to hearing these things. But to hear it from a male, it's just so differently, and it affects you differently. And as men, we weren't really known, even as I got older with my homeboys. It wasn't common to tell your homeboy, yo, I love you, because at that point you consider fruity, or you consider soft in some type of way, because now you're showing emotion to another man. Mm-hmm. And that damaged a lot of men. I think specifically in low poverty areas, what we call the hood, that's our problem. We don't know how to show love, because it's not common for a black man to tell another black man, God, I love you. I might not even be able to see you tomorrow, so I want to let you know right now that I love you. I'm proud of you, whatever it is. It's not common to say these things. You're considered soft, or, whatever the case is. And so that's one part, that's one element of life that I do think a lot of black men has been missing, is that emotion, that feeling, that need to, to really want to be loved truly from within. And I think that does, it comes from just hearing it, just hearing somebody say, I love you, I'm proud of you, So not hearing these things often, could affect anybody. So that's just my opinion, but I did want to get that out, bro. I'm good.
It does. It truly does affect you. We need to hear and feel that we're loved. And when that is not present, then we start looking for it in other places. We start looking for stability in other places. That's why a lot of times young men tend to get into gangs, because they're looking for love, and they believe that is love when it's not. It's not. And all you have is a lot of brokenness coming together to do these things that's going to end up landing them in jail. So Darren, go ahead. Come on, tap in.
I just wanted to piggyback off the last topic when we were talking about the jobs and businesses.
Okay.
The only thing that, I'll add to that is the wordplay. So, we say black owned businesses, but unfortunately, and maybe it's just me, my perception, my reality, I don't know any black owned businesses. I only know black owned jobs.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, like how I suck with names, and I'll get it. I think his name is Chris at the bottom.
Yeah.
And he was showing up. He showed the
heavy pressure. That's a black owned woman. Yeah. That's a black woman business. Yes. That's
and so this is some others. ABE, everything black, or Oh, he gonna be mad at me, Tom. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You show you show
everything.
All black everything.
I went ahead every day. Better tell you, I got an all black everything hat. Right now, I wear every day to work, everywhere.
Okay, so because you're from Buff, so you probably know Tom.
Yeah.
This is my hat. So I'm like,
yeah,
I'm gonna support both, but it's so many different businesses out here, and eventually we're gonna be crabs in the barrel again. And I think we gotta think outside the box where some people, instead of having 100 different clothing lines, how do we merge? It's almost like Nestle. Like we're portrayed to think it's just Cocoa, Nestle Quick, but there's 800 well-known corporations under the name Nestle, and I just think as a people, we're wearing ourselves thin to where eventually I'm not going to be able to keep supporting black jobs. And the reason I call them black jobs is because if you don't have the ability to offer jobs to your people, then I can't call it a business. Eventually, I'm going to have to go back and keep working for businesses because it's a business that will allow us to put our own people on. Until we get to the business part, we just got black-owned jobs. I have a small group. There's 9 of us. I'm the only one that don't have a business. Like, this is my business, awareness. But out of the other 8 I deal with, like I said, they need my help. I work for free. Because right now you can't even afford to have me on your payroll. Why would I take money out your business? Like, I'm all about building businesses because I'm never going back to corporate world. So I'm giving myself a year plan to get, my thing off the ground. But if it don't work, I got to go back to work. I'm just never going back to corporate. I'm going to go to hopefully Nick or Mike, people that need help building their businesses. And I think that's the first thing. Like, how do we get businesses up to where we can offer the jobs? As far as love, it's like Nick said, like, what's the definition of love? And it's clearly there's no definition because you can ask 10 people and get 10 different answers. And that's the reason why nothing that's built on love ever exists here. But like I said, everything with me is biblical. And guys, says this is the love of God. He gives us a specific definition, and it's pretty much it's his commandments. This is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. So I love each and one of you up here. And even though I never met, the gentleman face to face, it's because I have a definition of love. So if it's the commandments, I'm going to not commit adultery, on the men with their wives. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to kill. I'm not going to bear false witnesses. So this is my definition of love. So I can actually go out there and say I love you and actually put my works where my faith is at. But in the world, I used to tell a lot of people I love them, and I tell you right now, man, my actions did not show that. And it's because we don't have a definition of love. It's pretty much made up. And if you don't have something to fall back on, then you're just out there just regurgitating something that we don't have any understanding of. And when we believe or follow something we don't have an understanding of, then we're the ones that's lost. And so we're loving our own people based off a word that none of us have a definition on. And
go ahead now. I love everything. I love everything you said. And I when you follow something that you truly believe in, when you realize who you truly are, then you can love. You have to love from the inside, and you have to realize what that definition of love is, because it starts from here. And for me, it started from in here, and I realized who I belong to. I realized that I serve one God, I serve that God, and I realized that power that I have within me. When we begin to realize that, yes, when I'm asked of love, I say God is love. God is truly love. But a lot of us will not tap into that power because we don't think that we're worthy of it. And we don't think that we should give love because we've been hurt so many times. So we don't know what love is. And I love how you said that your actions did not line up with you saying I love you. Now, I know, V, did you have something to say? I know Christopher had raised his hand, and I think Nick, you had raised your hand. Okay, so I'm going to do a round table. Who wants to go first? This is so good. I knew it was going to go over 1 hour. So go ahead, V. You wanted to tap in or Christopher?
No, I'll let one of them go first.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Christopher Baynes.
First things first, when you say the definition of love, see, the definition of love is what we have to understand is I do things for you and don't expect nothing back. I do things out of my heart, and it's for my heart, not to accept no rewards. I don't want no rewards for what I'm doing for you. You know what I mean? And then when you said that, you was like, well, I will never steal from you. I would never harm you. Or I would never. That's all in the honor. That's your honor. That's your makeup, because you're not that person. But your love is the love that you. When you say I love you, you're saying that, you know, I love you. For you, they go saying, and it ain't about what I could do for you. It ain't about what I could. I love you from the heart.
That's right.
The heart is love.
That's right. That's right. Go ahead, Nick. Did you want to tap in, or Calvin?
Yeah,
if you wanted to tap in?
And I just like to reach out to, because a lot of people, you know, and which I respect because I was raised up in the church, but you have a lot of non-religious people, and I don't like to want them to feel excluded when certain people speak on certain things, because one thing a person has to understand is love. You have your biblical version, but love is just like Christian said, is good-heartedness, is being good, is being true to what you know is right. But a lot of us, with the definition, because I was raised in the church, I was raised outside the church, Muslims, Catholics, Methodists, Baptists, but when, especially what this was talking about, when you don't love yourself,
yes,
that's the love I'm talking about. You don't know what love is.
Right.
Because we don't even know how to love ourselves. That ties the depression in. It ties in the financial insecurity. It ties in the mental healthness. When those are all not leveled out, you don't even love yourself. So how can you exude this great feeling of majestic to someone else when you hate yourself?
Yes.
And then to top it off, we're not used to black men and black people to speaking about it. So not only don't you like yourself, you're scared to speak about it to anyone. And now we bring that back home to get another hot topic and take it out on the people that love us the most.
Yeah.
We all screwed up with love. Mm-hmm. We all screwed up with love. I came up with a part of time me and my uncle was just talking about where though love was if my woman stepped out of line, smack her in the mouth.
Oh,
true. Ooh, we gonna
that was love. That was stay in your lane, love. Whatever you want to call it, love. Because I'm doing this over here. I was raised to believe that if a man is doing this, this is what a woman is supposed to do. Not that she has an option. This is what she's supposed to do. But the flip side of that is this is what a man is supposed to do. And a lot of us men, let's hit this topic while we at it too, is stop asking these women to do what you're not even willing to do. And that goes back to we don't love ourselves, so we don't even know what to do with ourselves, but we steady want to tell somebody else what to do. Talk about it.
Let's talk about it, brothers, because it's real out here. And I just want to go back to what Nick said, because this is how mind screwed we were. As women, many of us have had what were in our screwed thinking. We thought that if a man hit us, you loved us. You beat me because you love me. You dragged me because you love me. But it's not love. All it is a lot of brokenness. That's all it is, and it's so misconstrued, and it keeps getting regurgitated. And now your son's hitting. Now your daughter's thinking that she's supposed to get beat on because that's what was going on in the household. And all of this is supposed to be love, but it's not. It's not. But this is what we're teaching our kids. This is what our kids are seeing. That's not love. Love starts from the inside. When you realize what you have in here. And that will spill out there, and you will be unwilling to deal with that type of love, because it's not love, it's brokenness, it's hurt, it's trauma. That's what it is. Then none of that is love, but we've been made to think that it's love. Who'd like to tap into what Nick had said? I love this. Go ahead, V. You got it.
Yeah, I really wanted. I'm gonna tap into what Nick said and a little bit on what Darine said, because I think what he mentioned was so powerful about the difference between a Black-owned job and a Black business, and that's one thing that I tell people all the time, and I tell this to all African Americans: we have to make it normal to buy Black daily. Buying Black shouldn't be a thing where it's like, oh yeah, I bought Black, this week, or I just copped something from a Black-owned business. We should be doing this daily. Like, prime example, like this is my hairspray, right? This is what I use for my hair. My hair care products comes from my barber, Black-owned, right? Like Precious Freedom. She Precious Freedom on Instagram, but I know her from Clubhouse. I found out she was doing nails, whatever. I bought a set from her for my models. It came with a nice little package, everything. She hooked me up with the spray. My homegirl, Bundles by BB on Instagram. I'm not a female. I don't even need waist trainers. But my sisters and
exactly.
I cop 2 waist trainers from her. Again, lingerie sets for my models that came from a Black-owned business that I found on Instagram. I got Black-owned stuff all around here like crazy because I buy Black daily. Buying Black is normal to me now. I made it a lifestyle.
Exactly.
This is the only way we can truly empower each other. And so I tell people this because you have to be cautious of what we're up against. Like, prime example, I really don't like it when people make excuses. Like my family, I'm going to use myself for example. My family, my cousins, whatever. If I say, dang, I need $10,000, I need $20,000 to do this, open up a location or whatever, the first thing they're going to tell me is, you better get a grant. But I want to point out the fact we get taxes every year, and I know for a fact, my sisters, my cousin, all of us, we done bought a couch, $2,500, $4,000 a pop. We done bought shoes, we done bought a whole bunch of nonsense, but it would seem unrealistic for 20 of my family members per se to give me $2,000 a piece. I have $40,000. That's a grant right there, all within itself, to open up a location and create that Black job, like Darine was saying, and turn it into a Black business. All from within self, all from within family, but we so focused on our oppressors and the fact that we're facing systematic issues, so we can't identify how to make it out on our own, or we can't really accept, hey, we're going to have to put up and shut up. We're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things that we want and start doing things that we don't necessarily want to get where we need to be. And that's the conversation I think need to be had, but I'm going to leave it there. I see you, man. I see you.
Listen, I knew this. Wait a minute. Hang on one second. Hang on. I knew that this conversation was going to turn into a part 2. I knew it. I just want to say thank you, God, because I knew you guys were going to bring it. I want to invite all of you guys back for part 2 because I need this message to be heard. There's people out there that need to hear you guys, and you guys bring so much to the table. So if you guys are willing, I want you guys to come back. I actually have one additional person that I want to invite. I don't know if he's watching, but Kurt, you are in here. Part 2 coming up. You guys stay tuned. We got to close out. I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you to the panel for joining. This was a very awesome experience. Are you ready for part 2? Are you guys ready for part 2? I told
Definitely
you
ready.
guys.
Yeah,
These guys were
Peace
going
to the true and living. Peace to the gods. Nation of gods on earth. NG. Peace.
Thank you to E. Digger, the producer of Charm City. I just want to say thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Darine. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, V. Thank you, Nick. I love you guys. Thank you so much for making this. I knew this was going. I knew it. You guys, thank you so much. We're ending the show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Make sure you come for part 2. I'm telling you, Think and Grow with Vette Green is going to bring you guys some awesome stuff. I'm not playing. I'm coming for your juggler. Listen, it's time to uplift the Black community. I'm tired of coming home, seeing everybody uplifted but us. I'm tired of riding down Broadway, seeing everybody uplifted but us. That they're expanding Broadway, they're expanding downtown, like Christopher said, riding down it just breaks my heart because we don't know what we don't know. But Think and Grow with Vette Green. If you want to know, check in with us. All right. Go ahead.
What's going on, you guys? Thank you so much for joining me on Think and Grow with Vette Green. I hope you enjoyed what you heard today, and I hope that you come on back. Go ahead and follow me on YouTube at Think and Grow with Vette Green, Instagram, Vette Green, and of course, Facebook, Vette Green. Come back, tell somebody about this podcast. They may need what you got today. Come on back. Make sure you subscribe.
Please, Lord, keep your